Happy long weekend Monday in WA. How are you?
Doing good. That does not affect me one bit. But in a week's time, we have a public holiday, but I'm working anyway. So I mean, we'll
Yeah.
take it. Happy
Hey,
Happy Western Australia Day. What's the actual day?
look, if I was over there, I'd probably know, but I don't. It's a day off. It doesn't feel like a day off because nothing really changes for me, but I'll be taking today as a little siesta day, and then I'm actually away next Monday as well. So I'm having two little 4-day weeks, which is kind of nice.
Dude, do you
It's
even
got,
work?
it's got, oh, geez, that's rough.
This is my segue into our
Where we go. Do
conversational
you
topic
even
for the day.
work? Actually, don't, man. Yeah, I literally just sit at this dining table every minute of every day, just flicking through YouTube videos, watching a lot of golf tutorials. Yeah, do that for 14 to 18 hours a day and just roll over and climb upstairs, get into bed and wake up and do it on repeat. What about you? Do you really work? I haven't actually seen you outside of that couch in a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're watching on the YouTube, my background never changed. Neither does yours though. Yours is always
I
just a white
actually,
background.
whereas we're kicking this off, not that you guys will know this, but this is a little bit later than usual. And I actually walked around my house a little bit with various setups, and I was like, can I make this work? I just feel so comfortable with a plain, boring background. Might even treat some people, for those that are tuning into maybe a little bit of something different, go to the moon or something like that, see how we go.
How do I do this?
Uh, that's a
I've got one.
technological advancement. Anyway,
Oh, you're
for
in
those that
space
don't
now.
know, yeah, me
I'm
and
in San
Elon
Francisco.
have been
Oh no, here
chatting.
we go.
A little Tiger King.
I got
I
Johnny
think
Zod.
if you're listening to this is probably the weirdest intro that we've ever had to a podcast. But look, we thought we'd set up somewhere a little bit different today, just change up the vibe. But yeah, happy long weekend to me. Happy not long weekend to you. You were up nice and early coaching. I appreciate your coaching this morning. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, that's okay. I have to bump the numbers for you in some way. So uh,
The average amount lifted. That's what you mean.
Yeah. Bring it down just a peg.
4 a.m. wake up. It honestly feels good. For a split second on the Sunday evening, I'm dreading it. But then when I actually get into it and I wake up and I go and get my coffee and I'm on my way to the gym and it's 4:45 or 25 to 5, I actually love it. And the people that come into the gym at 5:10 are a different breed. They're
Good
like
kind of people.
elite specimen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're highly driven, like highly motivated. Obviously, you would have to be to come to the gym at 5 a.m. Like, or a psychopath. It's like one of the two. It's either you're
I'll
highly
let you
driven,
tell
highly
which is
motivated.
which.
Yeah, yeah, or you're an axe murderer or something. I don't know. Like, there's no in between.
You haven't slept and you're still up. You're a night owl.
Yeah, exactly. Oops, what have I done?
Not sure. Yeah, it is different. I think that feeling that you would have on a Sunday afternoon is going to be different, especially if you're at the pub. Just like, could definitely have a sneaky one more. But I'm sure you've done it in your younger days. I can honestly say there'd be a handful of times I've done that. Literally, probably less than a handful. I'm not one that copes well with an early morning after a late night. So I'm happy to do it if I can stay in bed. But not out in front of people, being the energy, and I don't think it's obviously the ideal precedent to set in terms of, hey guys, come in, work on your health and fitness. I'm feeling really, really rough. So look, power to you for the Monday.
Yeah, I'm way past that now. And I remember one of my main stories that I tell when I'm talking about working when you're absolutely likely still drunk, to be honest, is I was working at my old work. For the sake of the story, I won't name names, but I had a really late night. And I got back to my mate's place, which was probably like 5 or 6 a.m. And then this is on Saturday night, or maybe it was it must have been the Sunday morning actually. And I went in and I was teaching CPR for 8 hours.
No.
So literally like 5 or 6 a.m., jump in bed for like an hour or two. Alarm goes off, 8 o'clock, 7:30, something like that. Like grab a banana, stumble out to my car, like absolutely atrocious, in an atrocious state. And then go and I'm like in front of this group of like 30 people, just like teaching 20 and 2, like the Staying Alive playing like the entire day, basically on repeat, because that's the beat you like do your CPR to.
Yeah, okay.
And oh man, never again.
Yeah,
I
that's
was pretty
rough.
young at that point. I think I was like 22 or something, but yeah, I'm way past that now. Any opportunity I can get to go to bed early, I'm going to take that
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I've actually
100%.
been sleeping excessive amounts, I feel. Well, I call them excessive compared to what I'm used to. I'm normally like a 9:30 sort of in bed, up at 5-ish sort of guy. Lately, it's definitely been maybe 10, but up at after 7. Like ridiculous for some reason. So not that I feel any better. Body's kind of feeling like it's been hit by a truck every time I wake up. But them's the breaks when you kind of live that athlete lifestyle that I definitely don't live. But putting the body through a little bit extra work. So feeling the feeling the body earn its sleep, I guess.
So you're running lots of Ks now. How many
Oh,
would you be
not
covering a week?
not necessarily. Only about 30 a week. Obviously up on what it's been in the past. I think I had a bit of a taper week last week, or deload, with a little
You
that
think?
5K. No, I did. I had a deload week, but it was deload in terms of the running volume, not a deload in terms of the strength training. That was a peak week. So yeah, it's interesting that they're kind of not programmed in sync, which is understandable. Two different systems kind of working there, but deload in terms of the running last week, peak in terms of the strength. So pushed, yeah, probably a little bit hard on the strength stuff when it's not really a priority at the moment, and then had a 5K time trial test, whatever I had to do at the back end of the week, which definitely body was not feeling 100%. Rep fams were just tearing off the bones as I was running. Glutes were super tight. Yeah, DOMs from 2 days prior kind of thing, lifting some semi-medium heavy weight.
But you're not saying 100 kilo reverse lunge is overreaching, are you? That's not what you're saying, right?
They were front foot elevated. There's a bit of extra ROM there, but definitely not saying no, overreaching. It was not that, nor was it the 180 kilo hip thrust for reps. It was
Could
neither
be.
of those. That's well within my wheelhouse as a scrawny little 70 kilo male here. But the 5K time trial, yeah, pushed it. I delayed it. It was supposed to be on a Thursday. I did it Friday afternoon. Strava, for those that have since jumped on the masses amounts of people that tune into my Strava habits, gypped me my last 10 meters. So I ran 4.99. So I actually didn't do my 5Ks.
Does count.
Doesn't count, but close to a PB. So pretty happy considering the body wasn't 100%. And then, yeah, back into a little bit of extra running. I'm going to go for one after this. And then I might even increase a little bit of cardio volume in the gym this week. So I might hit a couple of extra days before flying out next week to the motherland.
Nice. And then the strength training will be pretty reduced, or are you going to try and keep that up?
Well, I think I'm in chats with my coach to see if we can kind of get that programmed in accordingly, because I'll be away for 6 or 7 weeks and I literally fly back 2 days or so before the first race of the year. So I don't want to be strength training, not in alignment with what I'm trying to accomplish with the running. So the furthest run I've done at the moment is only about 11 Ks, maybe 12. And I am 7 weeks out, 6 weeks, 7 weeks out from the race. So I'm curious to see how the distance increases. I might drop off a strength day from 3 down to 2, add in an extra running day I'm kind of doing about 7 runs a fortnight, so 3.5 a week. Might make that an 8 a fortnight for a week, and see if we can get some extra distance in there. But it's all running on time at the moment, still not running for distance, running for time, and managing heart rate really well, like finding that 150 beats per minute, which is kind of my maffetone. If anyone knows about MAF running, it's kind of like my MAF heart rate is 150, and that's getting way more efficient. Just feel like I can kind of cruise at that pace now, so that when I put the foot down, it's significantly quicker for those intervals.
Can you explain what maffetone is?
Or I'm going to butcher this. I think his name is Phil Maffetone, is the guy who created it, and it's based on I'm going to again butcher this. Basically, it's 180. Your MAF heart rate, MAF, is 180 minus your age, but then you take off either 5 or 10 beats per minute, depending on your at-risk factors. So say you've got diabetes, right. Your MAF will take 5 more off. Say I think there's an age in there, you're over X age, take another bit off. And the goal is basically, it's kind of like zone two. It's similar to zone two training. It's not the same. If anyone knows zone two, like very sub-maximal, long aerobic based training, basically long, slow distance, LSD, if anyone's heard of that sort of stuff. It's really low heart rate, train your body to become more efficient, essentially. So operate at low heart rate for long periods of time, so that when you need to operate for a long period of time at a higher heart rate, it's a quicker interval. I don't know, do you have much understanding of math?
Right. So you're running at 150 beats per heart rate.
Yeah. For me, because that's 180 minus my age, which I'm around 30, I'd like to say. Does that have you got much understanding on math, or not really?
No, not really, to be honest. No, I haven't put it into practice for sure. I've heard of it. But I've never put it into practice. For me, running was just like a distance goal where it was like, all right, I'm going to go for an 8 or a 10 or a 15 or a 21 or like whatever. Yeah. And then really, regardless what my heart rate was, I would play around with cadence of steps more than anything, and just kind of feel how that differs. Lower cadence versus higher cadence. And I find that the higher cadence work felt way easier on my joints, especially my knees, my hips. Yeah. Just more cyclical rather than like bounding. Whereas now all of my running stuff is kind of in like a chaotic nature with footy, where there's no real like markers. It's just you go, it's a competitive nature. So it's just like so chaotic, but I would like to get back into running distance again. I mean, I have to at some point to run this 50K at the end of the year. So.
Well, yeah, good point to check in, like how, we're 9 weeks into the year, I think, just about. Obviously we had our big chat towards the start of the year, and there were health and fitness based goals, there were business based goals, and all that sort of stuff we kind of shared with everyone. How do you feel you're going with regards to some of those? And I know that maybe some of them have changed.
Yeah, I think my FC's changes quite a bit. I really chase like the next thing, pretty consistently. Yeah. And not to say that they're not going to be achieved, because they will. I'm feeling fit right now. Having started training with the footy guys basically like 4 nights a week over 2 different teams. I feel fit. I feel smaller. I'm probably like 82 kilos now, where I was probably more like 86, 87 when we first chatted a couple of months ago. So I think in terms of like fitness levels and where I'm at physiologically, I feel really good. I could definitely go and run like a 15er right now, I would say. Whether I would run that very fast or well, probably not, but I could definitely go out and have the endurance, I guess, both aerobically and physically, to be able to go and do it. Yeah. Because I'm covering probably 8 to 10 Ks a night at least twice a week at footy on 2 nights. And then the other 2 nights I'm probably covering like 5 or 6. Yeah. So I'd be covering a good 30 Ks a week just on the track there. That's minus all my other conditioning stuff at the gym. Feeling in a good place. I'm not directly training for those goals of heavy snatch, heavy clean and jerk, running 50 Ks, running a fast 5, and then increasing like maximal strength stuff. I'm probably only really training for the maximal strength stuff right now, and then indirectly just getting fitter from training at footy. So a lot of my training is just like multimodal kind of Metcon type conditioning stuff. So like dumbbell cycling with running, with erg work, with bodyweight movements. That's kind of my Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday sessions. And then my strength stuff is like basic strength progressions, essentially. Yeah. So like deadlift, working through different phases of deadlifts every 3 months. Got testing next week, which will be interesting. 1 rep max. That's for deadlift, back squat, bench press, push press. Yep. And then, I'll mix in my Olympic lifting stuff. That's pretty sporadic right now. And to be honest, I probably undershot what I could achieve this year with just like a 5 or a 10% increase for those goals anyway. So I'm quietly confident, but famous last words. Probably it'll get to November and I'll have to like do a course of steroids or something to like really up those numbers. Yeah, because the injection definitely gets you heavier lifts, right? Yeah, exactly. That's how it works. Yeah, basic science. Sarcasm, I think, if anyone doesn't know that. Exactly. Yeah, basic trigonometry. Really. Yeah. So I have to. No, you have to definitely train hard. And but again, I'm quietly confident, and I'm doing all the things, but indirectly, I'm working towards those goals, and they're my physical goals. But then we talk about business goals and financial goals and those types of things as well, which is ticking along.
It sounds like a lot of GPP at the moment, just generally getting the baseline a little bit higher, a little bit less specificity at the moment. Do you feel like that's going to change back end of the year? Do you have a timeline? Because I know that you've picked up an activity that you probably didn't think you were going to do this year.
Yeah.
Been recruited.
Yeah, I've been roped into playing footy this year, so I think
it wasn't a very big rope from what I hear.
Well, I don't know. I'm still actually on the fence a little bit, but I'm like 95% sure. And for me, it's just like a game of survival. I just don't want to get injured. That's the goal, because it just affects everything. Not just my work and how well I can coach, but my mental health suffers big time if I can't get into the gym and do what I want to do as well as I want to do it. So for me, being injured is not just like the detriment of having an injury where you like hobble around on like a bung ankle or a pulled hamstring or whatever. It's like, it's literally my life, like 100%. Being active. I've been active forever. But it's been my career since I was 17. So the last 10 years has been like heavily reliant on being able to do well at physical stuff. So it's like really detrimental for me in that aspect. So for me, there's like a lot of fear that goes into that and a lot of anxiety that goes into playing footy again, considering I was so injury prone my last like 5 years of footy when I was however old, 16 through 20 or 21. So yeah, it's a game of survival, but I'm much stronger and much fitter now. And I actually feel like I'm a better footy player now, being out of the game for 8 years than I did when I was in my actual peak, playing, 12 seasons back to back. And I think it's my mindset more than anything. I can understand that it is just a game, and I'm hyper competitive and I'm desperate to be the best at everything that I do, but that's completely underpinned by it's a game. Like you can relax, like you don't have to hang everything. Like, and I think footy was my identity as well when I was playing 10 years ago or whatever, or 12 years ago. Whereas now that's not my identity. It's just a thing that I'm just adding into my day or adding into my week.
It's funny how that changes as you age. Hey, that definitely had the same thing or similar through any sort of sport growing up. Just like, I'm going to be this athlete, or this, this is, all my eggs are in this basket, have to make it work. Proof of manhood, as we probably spoke with Cam about a few weeks ago, a month or so ago now, and just that sort of stuff. And then you step away, then you step back in, you're like, I was that kid before. Like you're pointing, you can see the guy across the field or teammate or whatever.
Yeah. They just hang everything on it, which is good because that means they'll excel at it. But your priorities change big time. Again, for me, it's not so much about being this absolute like warrior on the footy field. It's like, I'm probably going at 98%, because I would just want to survive. I'm not going at 100 or 110% like I would have going in, crashing packs and like head over the footy just blindly. I think I'm a bit smarter now because I know, and I can see that link between like how if I'm injured, I just get depressed. So I'm like super hesitant. I'm like, I think I'll just take this one easy. And I know my body better as well. I've got 10 years of extra training experience and I've done my strength and conditioning qualifications and I've put it into practice. And I'm preaching to these guys like, hey, you don't have to overreach every single session, like practice some auto regulation. And I think having been preaching that, I'm now putting it into practice myself, which helps a lot. And just generally probably just the smarter person.
Going down the route of, you mentioned that it's your job. Like if you get injured, it's your livelihood at stake. What are your thoughts on, especially in any industry, I guess, like if you're going to be promoting X, how you live that, how important is that to the role? So utilizing, your role, like if you're not training X amount of times per week and you're like heading out on the weekends, be it as consistent as your mates or maybe slightly less, who aren't in the fitness industry in terms of going out, going parties, clubbing, whatever, and not living that healthier lifestyle. How do you see those two different personas in a fitness space? And do you think it's important that just because some don't necessarily look the fittest, doesn't mean they aren't full of knowledge? Where do you kind of sit in that space?
That's a great question. And it's actually something I was reflecting on late last week. just randomly. I was thinking about that. And I think because I've probably been in both places.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, 18 through 22, again, I'd been in fitness as a PT since I was like 17. So I was going out and drinking, like doing all that stuff, and then rocking up the next day and like preaching to clients, hey, you got to live this healthy lifestyle, like eat whole foods and drink a lot of water and don't stay up too late and like, and all that kind of stuff. So I guess I've lived both. Whereas now I'm probably on the other side of it, where every opportunity I can get to go to bed early, then I'm going to take that. Like I'm really diligent with my water intake, and I eat as not as well as I could, but I eat very well, I think, or I know. Coaches don't play. I think that's an important thing to remember, that a good coach doesn't necessarily have to be able to show up and do exactly what they want you to do, because you'll have clients that are maybe stronger than you or fitter than you, or they're more advanced in some things than you, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can't coach them.
Do coaches need to have played?
I think it definitely helps, like for the experiential level. I think if I'm completely honest, I'm probably more towards you should practice exactly what you preach, and you shouldn't live like two different lifestyles. But I can see both. I can see both the still having the knowledge and having, and maybe portraying that knowledge, or at least, giving away that knowledge, but maybe not necessarily practicing it yourself. I'm probably more towards the other side. I think I would want people I want to be the epitome of what I'm telling people to do. And I think that's mostly because I just have these massive aspirations for myself. And I know that I'm not going to be able to reach them unless I am really doing everything optimally, in terms of recovery and sleep and hydration and nutrition and my training regime and all these things. I know that I'm not going to reach where I want to be by going out and getting drunk every weekend, and having like 4 hours sleep and like drinking a liter of water a day or none a day or whatever. I can understand that, like kind of like cost benefit of that.
But you don't need to be the strongest in the gym, is what
I would love to be. but you probably don't need to be. I'm on the fence. I think for me personally, because I have these big aspirations, I want to be the best. Not necessarily for someone to look up to, but just so I can prove to myself, hey, this can be done. And that helps me to be able to give the information onwards. So I could say, hey man, like, I've gone through these 3 blocks of training and I've seen a 25 kilo increase in my deadlift because I've done all of these things. If you follow suit, you can likely get the same results. But then similar to your math thing, it's like every issue or every disease or illness or like family history of stuff, you like take away a point. It's essentially the same thing with the results you get. It's like you could achieve this optimally, but then you take away optimal sleep. Like you're sleeping less than 8 hours a night. You're
having one liter of water a day.
You're not eating your body. Correct. Exactly. So you're kind of taking away. You're like chipping away at your. If everything was perfect and you did everything perfectly, you could achieve this, but every little thing that you don't do optimally, you're kind of chipping away at the results that you could get. I see it the same way.
Yeah. I love the idea of an optimal individual. Like it's just so impressive what people can achieve. And I feel like so many of the population, just in general, don't want to sacrifice in missing out. And they put it as missing out on this side of it, but it's like, but you're also missing out on this if you don't. Right. Because the sacrifice of what, like you're sacrificing being optimal for like society's norms, essentially, as opposed to I would rather sacrifice society's norms so that I can be more optimal. And optimal comes in various shapes and sizes, being like, mentally, physically, emotionally, all that sort of stuff. And, those who are completely, really holistically approaching life, that's absolutely next level. And they're probably the people that get to the epitome of their industries, is because it's like, well, I want to put all my eggs in this basket. It's the same as going down that investing route. I think we've mentioned this before. It's like, the smartest investment route is diversification, but the ones who succeed do not diversify. The ones who, go all in on something are the ones who are either at the top. More often they're not at the top, to be honest, because they learn from that mistake and then they go again and they go again. Diversification gets you to the upper middle class as opposed to the top of the world, I guess.
And if we're thinking like from a personal development standpoint, same thing applies. Like you diversify and you go and do an S&C qualification, you do like women's only training, and you go and do like powerlifting, and you do Olympic lifting, and you do CrossFit certifications, and the list goes on. You do it all. You become a generalist.
Yeah.
And if you're like, I like to use the analogy, if you've ever played FIFA or NBA and you've got your things that you can put like points into, could be like your power. If we're
speed,
thinking
agility,
NBA, speed, agility, power, like dunking, shot, like 3-point shot, mid-range shot, etc. And you can kind of like put your points in different things. I see it the same way as life, you know, and it's like I can put a lot of points into PD in this thing or this thing or this thing, and you have 5 different areas there. Or it could be you put all your points into like relationship building or into sales or into like technology or whatever. You can spread them all out and you can become pretty proficient at a lot of things, if not everything, but you'll never really excel at any one thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that you find that one thing potentially and like double or triple down on it if you want to excel at it. But then it really depends on your role in the industry as well.
I think that's like I've been caught out on this before, where you interact with people and it's like just in my brain it's like, how do you not have a base understanding of X? But then you see how good they are. It's something completely different. It's like, oh, you just haven't given it time because you've given all your time to being amazing at this, and it's just like that's worth the sacrifice in their eyes. And it's so cool to witness because you see someone who's elite in that field. And it's like, who cares if I don't know, I can't remember what the things were, but who cares if you don't know that. Don't put other fruit in the bowl with bananas because they'll ripen too quick. I just say that because I look at bananas as the first thing that came to my mind.
Is that true?
I think so. Yeah, like bananas make other things ripen really quick.
Also, apparently, if you put avocados in water, they stay green forever.
I'd hate to think how long that water's going to sit there and get gross.
Not if it's just stagnant.
Why would you do that? Anyway, that's like getting an ice cream bucket and just put you.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
They don't go brown and mushy.
I would just eat them though.
Yeah, true. I love it. I eat like 2 whole avocados a day.
Actually,
talking about this. Yeah, I love them.
2 avocados a day. They're actually really cheap at the moment, but I have heard from a dietitian friend that a quarter of an avocado is sufficient amount of fats a day.
I'm working it.
So you're
400% efficiency.
Yeah.
Optimal.
Yeah. That's one way to look at it. Yeah.
And then
I'm 8 times whatever anyone else needs.
And I only need 2,500 calories, but if I eat 10,000, then I'm 4 times better.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if you
so anyway, coming back to that analogy, it really depends on what your role is within the business potentially. Like you have a pretty multifaceted role, I would say. Like we've talked about this a few weeks ago, but what would you say you would need to put like your energy into? Maybe it's like technology and the back end stuff and Excel spreadsheets.
Currently it would be getting the best out of people effectively. Hopefully that sounds good. Sounds right. No, that doesn't need to sound good, but like how do I ensure that every person that is within the company is performing to a level that is needed?
What do you think goes into that? Is it a level of
communication, relationships, understanding how do individuals learn versus how do they apply? So, the way that education is delivered to one person may be effective, but you try that on another person, it may be completely ineffective. So how do you ensure that across the board, when you're talking to a group of X amount of people, 10 people, 5 people, 2 people, you're getting through to both to the level that they need to understand it and then apply it and then be managed accordingly to ensure consistency of performance, I guess, all the while maintaining relationships and just having a really amazing place to want to rock up and put in the yards for at work, which I think we're getting close to, or we're in the ballpark of, which is really exciting.
I think it's with teaching, I just relate everything back to fitness and being a PT and being a coach, teaching someone how to deadlift. You've got a group of 25 people or 20 people and everyone's got their own bar. Mm-hmm. Everyone is built completely differently, how you describe it and how you demo it. And so we kind of go through like visual, auditory and kinesthetic.
Yeah.
So you talk about it, you show them how to do it, and then you let them have a go, some trial and error. I guess, that applies to everything. But like teaching someone a new role or teaching someone a new skill, it's like you can tell them and you can show them and then you let them have a go and then you come back and revise it and you give them that feedback and then we do it again.
It's funny because using that same analogy, I've had someone who's previously invested in me when I was coaching. Shout out to Belly if he's listening. And his way of cueing, especially in front of groups of people, was exactly the same: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. But actually removing the other two is really important when you're giving individual cueing. So as an example, like you can go auditory and visual at the same time. Like, cool. So what I'm doing here is like, switching my lats on, obviously try to avoid using anatomical references. So like try and break the bar, really gripping on, that would help switch the lats on, and then like stand up, push the floor away, whatever the cues are that you use. But then doing it without any audible cue is really important for those that are visual learners. Otherwise you're giving them too much information. And then kinesthetic is actually like potentially putting your hands on someone and like allowing them to experience, or molding them in such a shape that they can understand that. And to add a layer to all three of those, it's like then there's external and internal versions of those. So instead of externally viewing something, they need to internally visualize it. Instead of like, kinesthetic, like how do you give an internal cue over an external cue for those things? And so that's when it comes to movement patterns, let alone human interactions and building relationships and administration and all that sort of stuff, for sure.
Right. The nuance. What do you think that the difference between like a good and a bad coach is in terms of the cueing stuff, as in how they communicate the same message? Do you see like a black and a white, or?
A good and a bad coach. I think that's it's a broad question.
Okay, I'll narrow it down.
It depends on the audience, to be honest.
Okay.
You could have a good coach to a group of young athletic men who are 16 to 18. That's going to need such a different, the answer would be versatility.
Sure.
How, someone that is able to jump into that group of 16 to 18-year-old footy boys and coach them all in a movement, and then jump up and do a one-on-one PT with a lady who has varying problems in terms of mobility problems or restrictions from living life, and building rapport with both and getting them bought in and getting results. That's a quality coach. When it comes to cueing, simplicity is always best. Word fluff is for people that don't know what they're talking about.
True. I'm just going to speak one-word sentences from now on.
Well, if you think about all the elite people that we've referenced on this podcast in the past, like people that know what they're talking about aren't thinking of words as they're talking. It's in they will pause. Elon, perfect example, pauses for long enough for people to think if the podcast is still going before he gives an answer.
That's true.
Because he knows it. He knows the answer. It's in there somewhere. It's the same with a cue. If you're word fluffing in front of a group or an individual, you probably don't know what you're saying. You need to be on. Yeah,
I agree. And having that experiential understanding of something as well. Like by the time the 9:30 session rolls around, I've already taught it 4 times. It's like bang, 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 bang. Everything's so much more efficient. I think that if you're teaching something, like you can just tell when people are clunky, where they stop someone after every rep to give them a new cue, where it should really just flow on. And you see it all the time. You see it in footy coaches where they're stopping a drill every 2 minutes, fly into someone about not doing something they asked them to or whatever. It's just let it play out and give them that feedback. Same with a deadlift or a back squat. It's you can cue as they go. Not everything has to be so profound where they have to stop and listen to you intently. It's hey, just drop your knees out, bum back then down, pull the bar down on top of yourself, whatever it is. It's you can just cue something more efficiently. It doesn't have to be so clunky.
I think reflection as well, as you just said, with your sessions back to back, if your sessions aren't improving from the first session to the last session, you're not learning. Same with the coach. If you're coaching a back, thinking back to when I was first coaching a back squat or a deadlift, mainly deadlifts, because some people really struggle to hinge. I butchered coaching a deadlift time and time and time again. And now I'd be shocked if there's someone I can't get into a deadlift position.
Right.
But that comes with the fail. It's not you win or you learn. You don't fail. You're okay, that didn't work for that person. That was a real average cue, but for them, it's really good. So what's different about this person? What are the mobility restrictions? Could they just be completely distracted from work today? They're not really listening. Could the warm-up have been better, more engaging? Those sorts of things is what you need to reflect on time and time again to be going, all right, now I'm a good coach. I'm not a great coach. I'm a good coach.
Yeah. And the ability to self-reflect, not to kind of have a repeat of 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
but the ability to reflect on things that you've done, whether that be good or bad things, that's what makes you grow. Because if not, you're just going to rock up blindly again the next session and potentially do the same shit that got you in trouble last time. And you never have that understanding of, okay, this is what I have to do, or this is what I don't have to do, or something I shouldn't do. Then you can be more efficient and more proficient, and you will just get better over time. Like, honestly, I can't put more emphasis on that self-reflection.
That's just floor coaching. Obviously, like if you want to go down the whole health and fitness route, there's programming. As an example, I did a training with the guys, my team last week, and acknowledged that like I wrote a program week to week, which is just the stupidest thing you can do, in my opinion. Begin with the end in mind and write like, and that took me, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. Like, writing a week to week program took me so long every week. And then it was because I had jumped in, no excuses, but like jumped in halfway through. It's like, cool, I'm just going to take this back, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, okay, from the 14th of March, we're starting a whole new block. I wrote literally the whole block in less than an hour, like fully specific. So then the understanding, so what would progress that good coach to a good +1 is understanding the program. Because you can walk in and see a workout and deliver it. And this has happened in the past few weeks. You deliver a workout and it not get the right stimulus for the client because you've just seen the exercises on a page or on the board. Whereas if you deliver the exact same exercises with the understanding of what the goal of the program is, it's just going to change the whole experience for a client and their progression and adaptation to whatever is trying to be achieved. So understanding anatomy and physiology is obviously important, but not just walking in, seeing a workout and going, oh yeah, it's 4x8 again, or it's whatever it is again. Because 4x8 has so many different variations in it, depending on what you're trying to achieve.
Coming back full circle to the point you brought up initially was working on getting people to do what you want them to do in their role. So you have a fair few people that answer to you as their, not employer, but as their superior, I suppose. Do you think that you could apply the same thing? Like kind of going down the route of maybe giving as much information as you can to this coach for their program so they can understand the desired outcome, so they can deliver it, effectively. Is that on you to do the same thing when you're asking people to do certain tasks within the business, is to give them the absolute, like, most thorough rundown of exactly why we do this and the reason behind it and what kind of result it will yield, and then
yes and no.
The opportunity?
It's not definitely my responsibility to hold the communication. It wouldn't be the most thorough rundown. It's how does this impact you, and what part do I need you to play? If I can give that full understanding, then absolutely. If they want more, sure, ask me for more information. But in terms of the necessity for the role, it's a case of this is why I need you to do X. It's that simple. Like I try and simplify everything. If you complicate things, people start like getting confused. Not asking questions is a bad thing, but like it just gives them varying points of focus. And it's like, cool, this is, to be the best in this role, you need to achieve X, Y, and Z. This is why I need you to do those. Like this is how you need to go. This is how you do those. I'm gonna leave you be.
And go and do those.
So now go and do those. Yeah, exactly. And ask for help when you can't or you're struggling. If I go and give the full 1,000-foot overview to every single thing all the time, it's just information overload. And
I probably put too much emphasis on the thoroughness of.
Specificity and concise is probably the more important approach.
Sure. So why is it? What are your end goals for work? I know this is what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And I love talking about this stuff as well, because I'm a big like aspirations guy and like really shoot for the stars, and what do you want to get out of this role? I know that I
don't think it's a role specific goal.
Okay.
I think, and I don't think it's to do with work necessarily, like this specific work. I think it's more about like, why do I work? Like to what end? Is it to holiday? Is it to, provide for a future family? Is it to set myself up in the future? Is it to like, what is the motivator. And sometimes I think people, myself included, get stuck on this. It's like, well, why am I doing this again? Like, to what end? Obviously, like, in terms of my current position in the industry I'm in, I love helping people. I love educating people. I love talking shop. I love just being able to reach more people and give people a greater understanding of how simple it is to be healthy. And it is simple. It's so simple. And so having a limited audience initially in terms of my time that I have as a face value coach, that was amazing. And I feel like I got so much out of that. But now I have the ability to influence, I don't know how many people I have at the moment, 12, about 12 people, to reach more people. So if those 12 have a full roster or whatever you want to call it, great. That's another 700-800 people that now I have influenced, not directly, but indirectly through others. And then if, progression continues or whatever ascension continues, how many more people can I help and influence? And there was a big part of me for a long time that wanted to kind of change the way health and fitness is delivered, because I feel like a lot of where the industry was going was around not lowballing, but there was this market of, or this banner of small group training facilities or group training facilities, whatever you want to pitch them as, and they're all around the same sort of price point, for want of a better phrase. Like, so therefore, if you're all at the same sort of range, you're delivering a similar value. So how do we deliver more value? Like, my goal has always been, how can I give people more? Not like, how do I compete with others and still maintain profit margins, because it is a definite for-profit industry. No business is, except for not-for-profits. Even charities are for profit. Look that up. So that's kind of where it started, and then it's like, cool. So that's a big motivator for me. I would say, is how many more people can I influence to then influence others and train and educate general population to understand how easy health and fitness is, or a healthy lifestyle is. And I mean a balanced, healthy lifestyle. I'm not saying everyone needs to stop drinking and train 6 times a week and, be X, Y, and Z. But I think having a, longevity is so, the allure of longevity and a healthier life when we're older is probably my investment in myself, instead of maybe necessarily the classic analogy of, cool, invest in the stock market, and by the time I'm 65, probably 70, by the time I'm allowed to retire, thank you, government, I can, really, really get my Winnebago and travel around Australia or something like that. Grey nomad. I think, if I'm 70, when I'm 70, I hope I'm fit and active, still training 6 times a week, running half marathons, whatever it is. So that's my investment in the long term. So why am I working now, and to what end? And the reason it probably popped up in my head is because we're currently planning a holiday and I love travel, and it's been a real thorn in the side, as it has to so many, with the restrictions on travel and exploration and that sort of stuff. And obviously no one's getting any younger. So the holidays that we do change as we age, like from I can't remember the name of the buses through Europe, whatever they're called, Kentucky tours, that's it.
Kentucky, yeah.
Yeah. Through to now, like, I don't know, where's the most scenic landscape? Where has really nice hikes? Where can I be most adventurous on a mountain bike or bungee jump or skydive? Where's the most amazing place to skydive? Where can I dive? I haven't scuba dove in years now, it seems. So where's the best marine life to explore that? So that's a huge motivator for me in a short term for working. I work to kind of holiday, I guess.
You could take your laptop and work on holiday.
And I'm not going to say I haven't done that. I'm not going to say I won't do that. Absolutely. My goal for a long time has been to be able to work from anywhere. And I have that ability, and I have the backing of an amazing employer to be able to be in a different state for, I don't know, it's going to be 2 years at least, and still work the role in the industry that I love, for the company that I love as well. So I don't know, there was a question there somewhere that you asked about, why do I work? And I think at the moment I work for a long time, up until now, it was I work to holiday, and just not having the ability to holiday has just been like, okay, so I work to work. Obviously, aside from the the goals within my role? What is it outside of that? So I don't really know. I don't have an answer for you right now, and I'm fully aware of the, financial motivation that different people have, or that we all have. Like, part of my psyche is like, how much is enough, and to what end in terms of a work. I hate the work-life balance. It's I don't like that phrase at all, because the balance is chosen by you. The amount you choose to work is your work-life balance. If you're efficient and the tasks within your role are deemed achievable and you're not doing that, well, then you're an inefficient worker. That's not on your employer. If you choose to work longer and it gets you closer to X, great. But it's not a work-life balance. It's like work-life is a choice. Everything we do is a choice. Ownership, as we both know, is probably one of our values for both of us. God, I'm butchering the English language today. So yeah, I don't really have a specific answer on why we work, but I definitely, constantly assess how much is enough, in terms of enough financially, in terms of the balance of responsibility, especially if the motivator is less time at work. But also, I have no reason to not continue to work, especially with the lifestyle that we've created, myself and Zoe, to be able to work remotely, to travel back to Perth for work, to still influence as many people as possible through this amazing thing we call the internet. So yeah, don't really know.
It's fine. I think it'll change as well. Changes depending on where you're at, in terms of, like, maybe to give an example, in my last 5 years, I would say has changed drastically, from working at the Institute of Fitness to wanting to be the best coach there, or the best coach I could be there. Sorry. Not that it's a competition. I was just like desperate to be as good as I possibly could. So my motivation there was just like, learn a lot, become a good teacher, become a good speaker in front of groups, to leaving there to going back and PTing again. It was like, okay, now I want to prove to myself that I can actually still do it, after having been out of the industry not out of the industry, because I was always PTing throughout, but not PTing full time. It's a different beast. So going back and doing that, and then my motivation was like, okay, now in my mind, it was like, all right, my reputation's on the line here.
Yeah.
Can I actually go back and do this thing that I've said I can do for the last 5 years or 4 years? And then from there, doing PT management stuff in the same commercial gym. And essentially, like, my goal with that was, I saw so many flaws in how they would get PTs on to rent space, essentially. So it's like a big commercial gym, and they get these brand new PTs on, and they sign them off for 12-month contracts at $320 a week or something, like an insane contract. But in saying that, it can actually work in your favor hugely. Like, if you do well, you can do really, really well. But not everyone does well. And often they don't sign the right people, whether that be like they don't sign the right people for the demographic of the gym or the other trainers in the gym. So it's not a cohesive group, and they're just framing this thing as, we're doing you a favor by offering you a contract, where really it's not. But they've just signed themselves up for another 15 grand that year, and they get 25 trainers on, and it's just this huge money making thing. So anyway, my motivation for that was, I'm going to do this right, and I'm going to really make sure I vet these people and make sure that they're the right fit for A, the gym, B, the rest of the team, and C, that can actually be self-managed. Like, I'm here to help out, but can this person actually do it themselves? If not, then sorry, but there's no contract offer. So that was my motivation for that. And then that didn't last long. And I don't know whether that was a coincidence or not, that it didn't work out. And it was like, hey, you need to start signing more trainers, and there's like KPIs attached to this. And luckily it didn't get to that point, because something else came up and I kind of handed in my resignation in anyway.
Yeah.
And then buying a gym, like, your motivations changed massively from that. Like, being an employee for the last, since I was 12, I was an employee. So all the way up to like 20.
Worked at 12.
Yeah, I was working in a fruit and veg place. I
Slave
think was my
labor.
first job.
What'd you get?
Yeah.
Free food?
It was pretty good, actually. Yeah, but he didn't know that I got free food as part of the role.
That old 5-finger discount.
Yeah, so that was like 12 through 15 or something, and then 15 through 17 or 18, I think I was working at a servo, and then through 17, and then did my PT qual, and then went to uni, and then PT full time from like 18 onwards.
Owning a gym.
And then owning a gym, obviously your motivations are completely different now. Like your skin is in the game. Like, you put however many thousands and thousands of dollars into this thing, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands potentially, and it's like, you're really on the line here. You have to hustle to make this thing work, and not only that, it's because it's not only just driven by financial benefit. You really want to be you want to be the lighthouse of the fitness industry or any industry. Like if you've seen how bad it can be, you want to be really good. So for me, it was like always underpinned by that. And you can easily take shortcuts and maybe be better beneficially or financially more benefited. But it's never the right way to go about it. I think it's important that you maintain like your values and your morals, and you do it ethically, and you try and be the best version of whatever you're doing as you can be. It's not always about just cutting corners and trying to make as much money as possible.
You don't think it could be about both?
What do you mean?
I don't agree with necessarily cutting corners, but you kind of differentiated there between, being a pillar in the community and being the best, and less focused on the financial gain. Can you not do both?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I think that helps a lot when you're selling, because then you're fully confident that what you're doing is the best thing that there is. And it's so much easier to sell having that conversation when you're actually back in the product. It's like, hey, there is nothing better than this because I've tried everything else. And the reason why we're here and the reason why I'm here doing this thing is because it's so good that I wouldn't be anywhere else. And I think having that kind of conviction when you're selling is a massive selling point. Sorry if I made it sound like
no. Just curious. How do you feel about selling for other people in that regard? In terms of, like you mentioned, if you're the face and you're the coach and you're in the club, and then you're selling, obviously there's financial gain there, but you've tried everything, this is the best, blah, blah, blah. Say you're selling and then you put them into, say, someone else's session. How confident are you in that sale?
In the same environment, like in the same gym potentially, then I think I should back it in because it's all under the same banner and it's the same product.
Have you ever had where you're not confident?
No, because I've always either worked for myself, or I've had the best intentions at giving the best service. So for example, with the PT management role within a commercial gym that's really well known for like ripping people off essentially, it was still underpinned for me to be like, no, I'm like going to do this differently, and I'm going to do this morally, and I'm going to actually do this to help people, not just to make this company a lot of money and potentially make myself a lot of money. So I think as long as you've got the right intentions, I think you can have that kind of in anything.
Yeah, I've definitely had that in the past where, like, say you've got a different salesperson or whatever selling a product that's being delivered by person Y. Like, so you got salesperson X. It's like, hey, this, I'm pitching you. You really need this. I'm going to, put you with this person over here. And they're like, oh, I guess I'm all over the place again. My brain's gone a million miles a minute today. They're not confident in that person delivering what they're selling. It's probably similar in big box gym, not naming names, where you have a, membership consultant, as they may or may not have been called. And it's like, oh, I want to put you with a PT. And like, there's these one PTs that get all the clients. It's like, well, yeah, because they're the best. So, and I can back up, like, me as a person, if I'm selling, that person's going to come back on me and say, you sold me that person, and now I haven't got my results. Thanks for that. Whereas, like, so I like fully understand both sides. It's like, you want to have full confidence in the package or the product or the service that you're selling, and the person delivering that service, not just the service itself, but the person delivering it. Because essentially in health and fitness, like, everyone's selling the same thing. It's more about the delivery of it. That is the difference.
The information is the same. Yeah, but how people
package it.
Yeah, package it. Yeah, exactly. That's the right word.
Mm.
I think I've never been in a sales role while I'm selling something for someone else or selling someone else's service, I should say. And I commend them because that must be a tough job, like trying to figure out where this person belongs, essentially, like what trainer to go to.
Yeah.
But for me, I've always either sold for my own PT business or at least sold for someone that will be directly underneath me. So PT management, I'm selling a PT contract for PTs that are working directly underneath me. And I'm mentoring them.
You're the one that's responsible. Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. Or selling in my own gym or whatever. Like they're always underneath or always kind of like working alongside me. I'm not like, all right, Tom, like you want to get started on this membership? That's great. Here's your PT. This is like John. And John's like, it's his first day. He doesn't even know what a back squat is. He's never touched the kettlebell in his life. It's like, how do you possibly sell that? And it happens all the time. And
I think
I don't know how they. I was going to say I don't know how they sleep at night. But that sounds a bit far.
Right, that's like salesman,
maybe that's
car salesman selling lemons. Like they're just like, let's just get this off the lot. That's how they sleep at night.
I guess their motivation's just completely different. I don't know. I can't really answer that because I've never sold away from me. It's always been like a relationship directly with me. Never just like, all right, sale done and palm them off to someone else and now they're their problem. It's always like, hey, I got this person in, so now they're my responsibility.
I do have a follow-up, but we're just going to pause briefly here so that I can go and do my hair. And we're back. My follow-up is based on that mentality, there's a price point for every product. So if you think about, I don't know why it's popped in my head, you think about cutlery, right? You can sell a 5-cent piece of cutlery and you can sell like thousands of dollars worth of cutlery, like quality knives. Do exactly the same thing. They cut, right? One's just cut better than others. So going down the path of not necessarily selling for other people, but let's say selling for yourself, what is the highest level of price that you'd be confident servicing? And what does that look like?
Depends on the service.
That's what I mean. So like price yourself.
But it still depends on the service.
Yeah.
Because it could be, is it like a one-on-one thing or is it?
You're creating the product.
Okay. So the more people that are involved, the higher level of return they could potentially get. I think those two things, that's like a multiplication, and then that equates to what you should charge. So if there's more people, they get more out of it.
Right.
Then you can charge more. If it's like a one-on-one PT thing and they're getting one session a week, one person, they're getting an hour of your time. Like what could you possibly achieve in that time? But if it's one person, they're getting one PT a week, then they're getting 4 other workouts for the week written up. They're getting their like nutritional stuff set in place. They're getting accountability measures. They're getting what I call daily vitamins, which could be like daily mobility drills or, or similar, just like, keep them kind of primed. And you like add services, add value. Yeah, exactly. Then it's like, I'm only seeing this person for 1 hour a week, but that's $250 a week, or $199 a week, or however you want to like spruce it to make it.
And that's forever. What does that get them? Like that gets them a weekly time. That's forever.
That could be a 12-month contract. And then you look at it again after 12 months. Where are they at? I think the big difference between.
It's a $2,400 contract, just roughly.
Okay.
$200. Oh, wait, I've done that wrong. I've done that massively wrong.
$5,200.
Yeah.
$10,400 if it's $200 a week.
Yeah.
So that's a decent contract.
Yeah.
You just have 5 of them, and then like you're at that. You sell 6 of them, and you're at that kind of median income, and you should be happy, according to you.
I never said a median income.
Okay, well maybe 25 of them, and then you're happy.
25 of them. That's 25 hours you're working face to face, and you have your external time.
Right. Yep. And then a lot of that is once it's set and forget. A lot of the time, like the nutritional stuff, the accountability, the daily vitamins, like you said, you wrote up a how many week periodized block in an hour. You could do the same thing.
Yeah.
You could be the same kind of thing, like the same like macronutrient calculator on body weight, and it works out roughly how much protein, how many carbs, how many fats.
So why do you think more people aren't doing that?
I think because it takes a lot initially for no return. As in, it takes a lot of time initially to set it up and set up the structures and set up the processes before you even have any clients.
I'm just going to rewind this whole thing back to last week with Ruby. We don't create first. We market and figure out if there's a sell for it first. So you don't need to create it first.
True.
So why do you think more people aren't doing it?
I think there's a few answers to that pop up into my mind. I think because, and you said it yourself, because there's so much competition, I feel like there's a lot of noise, and it's hard to have that point of difference because it seems like every coach is offering everything to everyone. It's like, how can you possibly differentiate yourself from that? I don't necessarily agree with that, but I can see how people would think that. Again, maybe like how you priced yourself. If you've never sold that kind of product to someone before, how can you have the confidence to sell it? Again, I don't necessarily agree with that, because if you've found a hole in the market, or if you've developed it, like I would probably develop it first, then sell it personally. Maybe I'm wrong. Ruby, I apologize. I know you gave us the tip last week, but there's that as well. Maybe you haven't got the confidence that it's actually going to work and actually get people these results.
I'm going to throw out a little cliche. Something's only worth what someone will pay for it. And we don't know what someone will pay for something until you price it at that point. And if they don't buy it, it means you haven't potentially shown enough value in that product at that point. So, and my curious thought to why aren't more people doing it? I would say they are. We just don't know about them. I would just say there's so, like you said, there's so much noise in the space because of the volume play. Like we had recently a chain come over to WA, and I've heard from someone that works within that chain, their play is, and this was literally the words from a leader within that brand, was to bring in more people than we lose each month. I think pretty much verbatim. Forgive me if I've got that slightly wrong. So, and that's not specifically to them, and there's other companies that operate on a similar model. Like that's literally the game that so many are playing, is we just got to play a volume game. And so that's where the noise comes in, because volume equals conversation. But if you think about it, those sort of facilities would be, up around the, I don't know, between 150 to 250 member mark, I would say. And that's a lot more people talking about it than 25. So you're looking at 10x, and there's way more of them.
I think as well, on top of that, if you're not in the market to buy it, you kind of push it aside anyway. Like you or I,
targeted. We're not in the price point to afford the 200 a week. That's out of our demo, out of our.
Well, but even if we were, because often people don't market the price straight away. Like even if it was just like a grab, and it was a list of things like, this is how I can help you, and you get this and this and this and this and this. Most people don't put the price on a post like that.
Yeah,
that would grab our attention. Like it would at least make us inquire about it. If that's like, oh my God, that's exactly what I need, we would inquire about it. But we don't, because we're not interested. Like, I mean, you have a running coach. I don't have a coach at the moment, but I've had coaches before in the past, and business mentors and whatnot. And that's how Carl got me to AA. Like, he had the answer to my question.
Yeah, exactly.
And the same with your running coach. It's like, hey, I need someone that can actually program me this running stuff. And I don't want to have to think about it. I just want to have to rock up and do. I don't want to have to think. So he answered your question. And I think if you're not in the market for it, then you're not really looking for it. And it's just noise, and you just push it to the side and make it white noise, and you just don't even, think twice about it. Maybe that's why as well, is a lot of people don't know what they don't know.
Geez, we're going back and back and back here, making big loops.
But it's so true, right? Like a lot of people just go to their commercial membership, go and use their commercial membership at this commercial gym, and they do the same shit, the same rep. This is a story on this actually. I trained this chick once, and she was complaining that she didn't get results. She hadn't had results for like a year or something, or a couple of years.
Yeah.
And that's a long time in training.
Yeah.
And you probably know where this is going.
I think I know this story. Yeah. This is gold.
Jen had results in like a couple of years. I was teaching her at the Institute of Fitness, and she was doing her PT qualification, right? Which like kind of adds into this story a little bit about we're 10 weeks in, so we're pretty far in. We've already talked about like long-term programming, periodization. We've talked about macro cycles and meso and micro cycles and like rep ranges and desired outcome and different stimuli and all this shit. And we'd already talked about all this stuff. Anyway, I can't remember her name now, to be honest. This is like 5 years ago. And she comes up to me and she's like, Luke, like, I want you to train me. I haven't had results or any results in a couple of years. And usually the first question that I ask is, I'm just interested in what people have done leading up to this point. And she's like, oh, I had a trainer and they wrote me a program and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, how long ago was that? And she said that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
When this guy first wrote me this program. And I was like, sweet, like, can I have a look? And she pulled out a piece of paper, and it was a workout, and it was, deadlifts, 3 sets of 15. It was pull-ups, 4 sets of 10 or 4 sets of 8 or whatever. It was like 5 random things, 5 random exercises, all good exercises in their own right. There wasn't really any rhyme or reason, it seems, but I was like, cool, like that's one workout. What about the other 6 days of the week? Like, what kind of stuff are you doing? This is 2 years. And she goes, no, I just do this workout like twice a week. I was like, man, you must have seen some like good strength gains then. Like, how much are you deadlifting? And she goes, no, he just set me the weights at the start and I've just been doing that. My same, like 25 kilos, 3 sets of 15 on the deadlifts. I'm like, there has to be some progression. Like, what about your plank hold at the end? Just like, no, I've just been doing 15-second planks. And she's been doing literally the same workout with the same weights.
That is a compliant client right there.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
For 2 years, man. And she didn't understand why she wasn't getting results. Like, you don't know what you, and this is a chick that was 10 out of 12 weeks into a PT course. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And that's like someone that should be kind of learned in the topic of periodization and progression. Like, imagine what general populations think or don't think. Just kind of go in and go through the motions, and they like look over that person on the treadmill and just follow what they're doing, or see that person in the squat rack and they just do what they do. They don't really even think about it, like the structure of the workout, or like let alone rep ranges and desired outcomes and all that other stuff that goes into it, like all the nuance of periodization and programming.
Yeah.
So you don't know what you don't know. So maybe people don't know that they actually need this help, because I could guarantee like anyone could walk into the gym and we'll get them stronger and we'll get them fitter. Guaranteed. Like, I would like put money on the line that would happen if they came and they trained 4 days a week at least, and they trained the hardest and they listened to what our coaches say. Like, they would get results 100%. I have no issues in having like a guarantee on that. If anyone wants to take me up on that, I'll happily pay for your membership if you don't get the results that you want, with a little asterisk next to that. There's T's and C's attached to that. But don't you agree? Like, general populations generally, I think
part of it is the confidence in, like you say, someone, trainer was 10 out of 12 weeks into a program and they didn't even know that. So that's probably some of the hesitancy around general pop buying into a coach, because we've just found a coach that's literally, 2 weeks shy of having a qualification, that popped out of a cereal box to basically train people and get them to pay her. So like, for sure, you don't know what you don't know. But I think part of the hesitancy is like, cool, what's different? Like, what's different about you? And I think some people are genuinely scared in terms of, I'd be curious if the training, the course to become a PT was through an undergrad, potentially even a postgrad, how much more faith the general pop would put into their trainers, purely from the sense of like, old mate goes to a doctor and the doctor says, oh, I need to put you on antibiotics. Old mate just, doctor said I got to be on antibiotics. Doctor says you need a scan because your stomach hurts or whatever. It's like, oh man, have you had some water and some good nutrition? Like, I don't know, like some of the authority that comes from the letters after your name is ridiculous. Like in terms of the tiered level, seems to be no regulation across those. I know there is, I'm not saying there isn't, but like, how do you know if you've got a good doctor? It's the same way, how do you know if you've got a good PT? How do you know if you've got a good pharmacist, a good dentist, a good whatever? Like, it's through experience and results, essentially. So the ability for a coach to kind of step up and have anyone from those 16 to, this is full circle, love it, anyone from those 16 to 18-year-old boys in a group, and the grandma who's got mobility restrictions and previous injuries, get them results and can guarantee it, that's a good coach. That's the person that gets referred out. That's the PT that gets, the membership consultants sell to and is full on their books within 2 weeks, because they have the confidence and the ability to get results. It's the ones that don't have the confidence. And I've had this chat with, former employees, current employees. It's like, how confident are you that when product X is sold, that you can deliver it to a point where you can guarantee any person that steps in front of you results? Probably like a 4 out of 5, or a 6 out of 10, or an 8 out of 10. Cool. What's stopping you from getting 10 out of 10? Every single person. Oh, well, just like and it's always a point. Or, I don't know what their life experience is. It's like, so you're not the best coach, which is fine. Like, it comes with training and experience. And how do you overcome that? What are the type of people that you struggle with? Easy one would be like FIFO people, or people that aren't physically present. How do I keep them compliant? How do I keep them bought in? And they're the kind of people that like can't or struggle to build rapport with different demographics easily. And that's why you got to be a people person. That's why you don't go out on a Sunday night and you wake up at 4 o'clock on a Monday morning and you go, cool, I'm having the best day today, because I can guarantee everyone that walks in my door is going to have the best 45, 50 an hour session that they get with me, 30 minutes, whatever it is. And then they're going to go home and they're going to eat their nutritious breakfast, because I played a part in that.
So you can't do that if you don't practice it.
I don't saying, like, going back to that question, my initial thought there is like, I know you possibly haven't heard of Mike Boyle. You heard of Mike Boyle?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have heard of Mike Boyle. Amazing. Some people haven't. If anyone looks at Mike Boyle and Googles him, he is visually, he is not an athlete. Like, not an athlete at all. But most junior athletes will seek out his tutelage to become a better professional athlete in their later stages in life, because of his knowledge. He understands the human body and how to get the most out of it. An adolescent athlete better than anyone, I would say. There might be one other person that I could think of, and his name is Kevin something. Can't remember his surname. In the world, and he changed how even AA run their sessions. Athletes Authority in New South Wales. So you need to be able to live a healthy lifestyle. You don't need to be able to do the thing. You don't need to be able to lift 200 kilo deadlift to be able to coach someone to lift 200 kilo deadlift. I mean, they might seek you out a bit more if you can, if that's your target, but your ability to have good technique and good form is more important than the numbers you lift when it comes to education.
And not even that, probably. If we were to say something like with full conviction, it would be it's results driven.
Yeah.
If you can get the results, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you can actually snatch yourself.
Results vary, because some people's result, like as an example, I'm definitely not the greatest at writing a running program. I could write something for someone, but like, I would seek out someone that is a running coach. And again, this goes back to specificity over general knowledge. Like, anyone can be a good coach. Most people can be a good coach in a broad sense. But if you want to be the best, you need to specialize. That's where you get, I can't even think of their names, but that's where you get like powerlifting coaches, because people really want to be really good at lifting heavy weights for their body mass. Or you get,
and then you can charge more.
Yeah.
Because you're specialized. We're like we opened up all these different conversations,
these different doors,
and now we're ticking them all off. Like, don't you think? I think
100%.
that's hilarious how we've just done that. Like, we've talked about like the difference between specializing and generalizing, like doing stuff with the conviction.
Quality coaches, yeah.
And we've come full circle in all of them. I think that was a great conversation.
Great, we'll do this again. I think that's what it comes down to. I think your ability to get results, period, in any industry. If you're selling something, if you're an engineer, your result is well, I'm going to butcher engineering. Your result is engineering something really good, better than someone else. If you're in health and fitness, it's a case of cool. Well, that's why there's a dietitian, and a dietitian is different to a nutritionist. They are very different. Why would you seek one out over the other? Why would you seek a long distance running coach over a sprint coach? Why would you seek a triathlon coach over a long distance running coach? Well, like all the nuance to it comes down to specializing in the experience and getting results for people. You look at some NFL coaches, and I have no idea how they're on a sporting field. To be honest, they look like some of the most unhealthy people. But NFL isn't necessarily about health. It's about strategy. Like NFL is so much about strategy. So impressive. So having a brain is probably more important than having the brawn on the sidelines. Full circle, I guess.
Yeah, the coaches now, they're like throwing touchdowns.
Exactly.
They're not on the O-line. They just have to understand each of the things.
Yeah.
It's the same as a fitness coach, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. So,
but that's not to take away the fact that I really want to be the best.
But that's your motivator for you. It's not your motivator for your clients. Your clients aren't seeking you out going, well, Luke wants to be the best, so I'm going to go and train under him. Some may, that's for me. Not all. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which is great. And and I'll keep striving to do that.
Speaking of being the best though, I'm really excited for a little bit of an awkward segue. Our next guest.
Me too.
How's that for a segue? We have probably definitely a leader in his realm, especially in Australia, coming onto the podcast. We're actually recording it later this week. It will be released next Monday. How much insight do you want to give, Luke?
Let loose.
Go nuts.
We've got Mr. The Wildlife
himself.
One of the two owners, I believe. We'll find more information out on Wednesday, but Andy is going to come on and we're going to chat with him about business. I'm actually really excited. He's an Adelaide guy, and he's just come back from international. I think he was living in the US for a little while, and we're going to get him on and we're going to chat with him about how he started The Wildlife. It's a huge brand now, worldwide. Yeah. I'm excited because he was a guy that just started something because he saw a little hole in the market. I'll let him tell the origin story, but it's, it started as something pretty candid and it's turned into a fairly ginormous business. And we've got the pleasure of getting him on. It's going to be awesome.
It's mid CrossFit Open for those of you that are CrossFitters as well, which is a big time of the year. So I'm sure he's a busy man. We massively appreciate his time, but I'll be looking forward to picking his brain about all things, how it came about, where it is now, where to next, athletes, all that sort of stuff. So tune in.
Sponsorships.
Tune in next Monday. Float out the sponsorship. I spun no idea. But yeah, looking forward to it. Hey, mate, I do appreciate the chat today. I think it's been really good. Managed to, like you say, bring it full circle. So enjoy the rest of your working day. I'm going to continue to enjoy putting my feet up on this public holiday Monday.
Legend. I'm done as well. So no one's going back to work from this conversation.
Have a good
Thanks,
one,
man. It's been good. Yeah. Thanks a lot, man. I'll see you in a couple of days.
No worries. Ciao.